Hey dudes, welcome to Ask Tommy number 8. First question. How's your health, Tommy? Well, the health is okay so far. After that clusterfuck misdiagnosis with my liver back in October, I'm emotionally not freaking out anymore yet. I'm still on my diet. I put salad in the mix. I quit putting cream in my coffee. I'm looking into replacing my primary care doctor. And I have tests coming up. In fact, I did one yesterday that seemed to went well, but I'll have the results any day now. All in all, yeah, my health is doing better and good, you know. And oh, and oatmeal is helping too. I put some milk in my plain oatmeal and a little bit of blueberries, and it tastes really good. You know, it's better than eating one of the fruit flavor ones because there's always a ton of sugar in those. But overall, my health is good. I'll know more soon, but thanks for asking. Have you had any multiple returning guests on that, turned on you in a fucked up kind of a way? Oh, dude, you have no idea. I've had two lately, and this happened in the first, week of October. So, the first incident, Rebecca Reinhardt, who I've had on three times, back in 2019 and once in 2023. When I had her on three times back in 2019, it was at a time where, I had trouble getting guests consistently in the world of showbiz, and I would have to, get horror fans on that I met, in Facebook groups or ones who friended me on Facebook, you know? And, some of those experiences started out pleasant, and then I found out, really quickly that horror fans are fucking nuts. But I'm getting way ahead of myself here. Um, so we did three awesome podcasts in 2019. In fact, we it came up with a little in joke, which is the basis for the incident that I'm about to tell you here. She nicknamed me the finger bang master, which I kind of casually remarked, but then she would call me the finger bang master. In fact, she recorded a plug for my podcast where that little in joke was in there. And during the pandemic, I didn't have her on again because I was busy with movie people and TV people and musicians, all these people who didn't have time for me pre pandemic, you know. And um, during that time, she had some changes in her life, big changes. She became an indie filmmaker and she married Rob Mello from Happy Death Day. So I had her back on for the fourth and final time in October of 2023, and this was all chronicled in it. And from the moment that interview started, it became apparent that this isn't the Rebecca Reinhardt from 2019. This is a conformist of the bullshit indie horror scene, and the vibe was very uncomfortable. We had an issue on Facebook not long after the interview where I called out the indie horror bullshit, and she was one of two people. Nasty Neil Jones was the other. They were both, commenting on my post, and they basically showed me their true colors in telling me, without even saying it, that, these are people who play for keeps, and they are marking their territories. So, this past October, Rebecca posted a picture of her and Mello half naked on Facebook, and the caption read, "What's hotter than this?" or something along those lines. So, I commented with the in joke, finger bang question mark, as a reference to our little in joke that we had in 2019. So, she responded with, excuse me? I responded, "You asked what was hotter." And she was like, "Oh." And then Mello responded with, "Don't fucking talk to my wife that way." And I responded like something like, "I knew your wife," in air quotes, long before you did, or something. He responded with, "Who the fuck are you?" I remember. And about a minute later, he tagged me in a shaming post. He displayed all of this in screenshot and made me look bad. It was mostly horror fans I don't even know commenting. I remember before I blocked him, there was like nobody in the in the horror convention scene that I knew. But although I don't doubt a lot of them saw it, because next thing I knew, I lost maybe 6 friends that week on Facebook or something. So then Rebecca blocked me before I could explain to her, more. And you know, nevertheless, I think this was a premeditated covert plan to cancel me. You know, I think she knew in damn well that I was making that in joke, but she wanted to make me look bad because over that fucking post the year before about the horror community, or whatever it was I posted. Nevertheless, I'm fucking over it. So that was that story. Then I asked Kathleen Kinmont to come back on. I've had her on 5 times from like 2017 to 2020 after her book finally came out, which, I wasn't, aware of how to find out if a book was coming out. I learned that, if a person posted on social media, that meant that it came out. But I kept having her on thinking the book was out, you know? So after that last one, I was like, okay, we ran the gamut of talking. And this past October, I thought to myself, I should have Kathleen on to nerd out with me. I think she would be a fun nerd out given the fact that, she comes from a show business family, and, maybe she's got stories of being a fan of something and meeting them, in Hollywood where she's from. So she replies me back in email, if you pay me $450, I'm there. That punctured a hole in my fucking soul. I really thought that Kathleen was my friend unconditionally. I met her before I even had a fucking podcast. And I'm still not over that one, but oh well, You asked me an honest question and I gave you an honest answer. I hope I answered that question. Have I been fucked over by somebody that's been on multiple times? Yes, I have. What did you eat for Thanksgiving this year? The standard, traditional food, turkey, cranberry sauce, mom's amazing stuffing and gravy, pumpkin pie, dinner rolls, yams, etc., all with the trimmings. By the way, what the fuck does all the trimmings mean? People have been saying that for centuries, yet we use that term. I still use that term. What the fuck does that mean, all the trimmings? Why does it have to be trimmed? Oh well. Why didn't you have a Thanksgiving movie or TV guest on Spot from the Past this year? Because I've had so many over the years, I ran the gamut. I think the closest I got to having one this year was Cindy Pickett because of Son in Law. That's kind of a Thanksgiving movie in its own weird way. No disrespect, Mrs. Warner, but you're giving me a semi. I love that fucking line. It's such a brilliant line. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't find any more Charlie Brown people. I tried to get some more people from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but I just couldn't do it. You can only look for so long, and sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes you don't. So, so Cindy Pickett was the closest I got to one for November. Now that you've had 3 from the Fantastic Four movie on from 1994, will you have Alex Hyde White on? I don't know. I've heard him do a few podcasts where he's always repeating himself with stories. And I think it's because he does so many interviews, he thinks he's going to be asked the same questions. He kind of hijacks the interview and just starts talking about what he wants to talk about and repeating stories. And plus, he has a memoir out, and he's done so many credits in his career. It's like, what can I ask him that he hasn't already heard before? And I don't really want any more hijackers anymore. I didn't know in the beginning that you could actually take control of these people and let them know what the show was all about. If they're oversaturated and they think it's going to be the same fucking talk they've done a million times. So, at this point, no, I don't think I'll have Alex Hyde White on. But you never know, it might change. How much editing do you do per episode? It really depends. Occasionally I'll edit stuff the person told me to. That hasn't happened in quite a while, but it used to happen a lot more. I'll do that, or, I'll like edit stuff out that I personally am uncomfortable by, i.e., political shit that's on the opposite fence of what I'm about. Me telling a joke that bombed, or, or if the phone starts, beeping because it's dying. I've actually this year, this is the first year I've started to try to edit a lot of those beeps out as much as possible. Some beeps you can't get around it because, the word of what the person said got buried and it's the essence of what the statement was. Or sometimes, it starts beeping when there's dead silence after the sentence. That can be erased. But for the most part, it's very tricky editing the beeping parts, but I'm doing that a lot more. If I have time, I'll go back and listen to old ones, and I'll start, editing beeps out of those ones if I can, But we'll see. Many of your guests have passed away in 2024. Are you satisfied with the interviews you did with the individuals? Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I'm happy with the one I did with Mike Mislove and Mark Dodson and Don Gordon Bell, Lou Bracker, Bill Sachs, Ron Thompson. I like the Cindy Morgan one, but I really wish I had asked her about Amanda and the Alien. After talking to Nicole Eggert, a few weeks ago, it made me think that, like, man, I should have asked Cindy about doing that movie. I didn't really realize that she produced. I think I stayed away from the producing entry on her IMDb back then, only because I was interested in the acting. I used to be a lot more selective with what to talk about because I thought, oh, this person talks about that way too much, and I'm not even a big fan of that. But then, during the pandemic, I was like, you know what? I need to, cover the person's whole filmography because, we never know what's going to happen in our future. The world could, blow up or something. At least we have everything documented, the person's career. Now I'm back to being selective again, especially if the person's oversaturated or they got 100 credits. I have to be very discriminatory and go through their filmography and go, okay, I've seen that, I've seen that. How can I make, questions about that original, which is very difficult you know. But yeah, Cindy, I wish I wish I had her back on. I was going to ask her back on at one point and talk about Amanda and the Alien, but it never happened. I was not satisfied with Kristen Frisk's last interview at first until I went back and listened because all I remembered was that it was a very vulgar interview, and I'm like, okay, all our interviews were vulgar, but it's like, couldn't I do just one clean, family-friendly one that portrayed her in a humanic light, but then when I went back and listened to it, I was like, wait a minute, we do have that, and I forgot it. Yeah, we spent about 40 minutes talking about the movies and all the dirty stuff, but then once we started talking about her grandmother and her divorce, she got very vulnerable with me, and it went from a dirty interview to a very human interview, and then back to dirty again near the end. But overall, I was very satisfied with it. It's the essential Kristen Frisk interview, that last one we did in 2021. I miss her so much. I wish we could do more. You know, I really do. I miss her every day. Who are some of your favorite interviews you've done in 2024 in terms of TV icons? Well, Marla Pennington was fantastic. I truly enjoyed talking with her. Sydney Penny, just a week or so ago, she was fantastic. I hope she liked me. I haven't heard any feedback yet, but she's awesome. I'd have her back on if if she was down to do it. I mean, I don't think she was expecting the game and the joke and everything, but then again, because she's friends with Karen, I didn't think she would mind it, and I'm sure she didn't. Maybe I'm just paranoid because I haven't seen her much on Twitter. She didn't reply me back my message when I said, hey, thanks for the interview, it was fun. Who knows, maybe I will soon. Can you cut back on the amount of yas you say during your interviews? Sure, but why bother? But seriously, I've actually finally become aware of the amount of yas I say. And so I've trimmed out actually a couple in certain episodes lately as much as possible. I'll do my best not to say it that often or say absolutely or I totally agree. I've said the word interesting a lot lately. And I always hated it when people said interesting because it sounds like that they're trying to say in a professional, respectful way, this is full of shit. And in these certain instances, I was just looking for a new word. That's all. I didn't think that the person was full of shit, you know. But I will do my best to quit saying yeah so much, during my podcasts. You know, I have nothing else to say. I remember you saying a while back you were having trouble getting the Peterson sisters for the bagels on the podcast. Any progress with that lately? Well, the lovely Sarah Ballantyne nerded out with me back in October. She offered to help connect me with Vicky Peterson and John Cowsill because she's close friends with them. Now, that's a no-brainer because I've had Bob and Susan Cowsill on and many mutual friends. You know, I even, I've even had, people who they've worked with in the industry on, but I touched base with Sarah and she said that they didn't respond to her at all. And I was not surprised. I knew that was going to fucking happen, you know. So I have completely given up on getting um, Vicky Peterson on the podcast, and quite frankly, Debbie. I think I mentioned this in one of the other Ask Tommies. I tried to get Susanna Hoffs on this year, and her book publisher was beyond, and I do mean beyond rude to me. I mean, when you get a book publisher who personally is not a fan of your show and is aware of what you do, and they say, oh, so and so is busy, that's just bullshit, Just like, okay, you sound like you're not a fan of what I do personally, but maybe she will be. So why are you looking out for her? I don't bite. You know, I don't get that shit at all. So I've given up on them, but hey, I love Sarah and I trust her, and I'm glad she tried at least. What cult movies have you not explored in 2024 that you hope to do in December in terms of anniversaries? Well, let's see. The Wildlife, Police Academy, The Rare Breed, The Longest Yard, Chinatown. I've been having a lot of trouble trying to get people from those on, specific certain people who shall remain nameless. I won't say their names because there's a good possibility that some of them may still come on this year. So we shall see um, if I can get any of those people before the year is out. Why didn't you do a double or triple header for Halloween this year? Well, I had Boof from Teen Wolf, and that was enough. Also, I called a frequent guest of mine who has done some Halloween podcasts with me in the past, who shall remain nameless, and she didn't pick up the phone, which is so unlike her, and she hasn't been on Facebook much the last few months. I hope she's okay. I was gonna have her come on like right after Susan Your City, but I never heard from her, and I was like, you know what, less is more, and Teen Wolf is an iconic movie, and Boof is an iconic character. That's all I need. I don't need any more people from the movie, any more people from Halloween stuff to come on and create more content. So I just had Susan Your City on. It was sufficient. So the single header was sufficient. The killer from Slumber Party Massacre, Michael Villella, has passed away. Why wasn't he on Splat from the Past? Because I DM'd him in 2020, and you know what his response was? One thumb up. as if I was a crazy fan just talking out of my ass or something. At least that's how I perceive it, you know. And then I tried to follow up with further information. He didn't respond to me. So there you go. That's why Michael Villella was not on. Are you ever going to finish your memoir? I hope in 2025 I'll be able to. I say this every year, you know, that I'm going to finish it, and then I ended up not, you know, doing it. So I don't know, you know, maybe next year I'll get to take a summer off, which is what I say all the time, but, you know, I don't know. Fingers and toes crossed. Maybe I will get that memoir finished at some point. What can we look forward to for Christmas December this year on Splat from the Past? Oh, some Christmas movie guests and TV as well. I got returning favorites coming on to nerd out with me. It's going to be a fantastic month. It's going to make up for the lack of guests that I didn't have for Turkey November in terms of holiday guests. You know, I'm pretty looking forward to the month of December. Who did you really want to interview for Halloween October, but you couldn't get this year? Judy Bamber from Roger Corman's Bucket of Blood. I'm still trying to make the connection for the 65th anniversary. I hope I'll be able to. Hopefully I'll get her in December. You know, she's on Facebook, but I don't think she's on because of her age, but I will make the connection somehow. I love Bucket of Blood. I was a little late to the party. Like I knew that movie existed, but I was such a Little Shop of Horrors fan my whole life. I didn't really have a particular interest in seeing that movie until later in life. And when I did, I was glad I did because I love Dick Miller, and it was such a great experience meeting him at a convention back in 2017. I think, yeah, it was 2017 when I had him on. He is so good in that movie. I don't know how he didn't become a movie star outside of the Corman world. It's a crime and a shame. Finally, is there going to be another year in review episode for 2024? Absolutely. Rachel Clark is currently hard at work at listening to my selected episodes for the 2024 year in review episode. And this weekend I'll be adding some more um, because she started listening to ones that I gave her this summer to listen to. And then I'll be giving her more of stuff that I've done in the last few months that I'm considering having possible candidates for Christmas December. So we shall see. You know, I can't wait. There, you know, it's funny. As I've said this before, there wasn't a whole lot of bad interview experiences this year. I'm at the point now where people trust me. I feel. I mean, there was a bunch of ones that were disappointing, but you know that just fucking goes with the territory. You know, you get these high expectations, and then at some point, those expectations, you know, don't get met or they get exceeded, and you're like, okay, okay. So it went this way instead of that way, you know. But yeah, there is going to be a year in review episode for 2024, and it's going to be a toe curler, an absolute toe curler to the motherfucking max. That's it. Later, dudes. Happy Black Friday.